Good morning and happy Wednesday, March 10th. Everybody coming in, we'll give everyone just a couple seconds here to file in. We have a great group this morning. We were right around 40 participants, which is awesome. So again, we'll give everybody just a few minutes here to both get admitted and log on. And if you can, for me, just a small housekeeping note. As you're joining on, if you could just mute your microphone, that will definitely help with some of the residual background noise. Thank you. About another 30 seconds and we'll get rolling. See Mr. Lundenberg connecting there. We'll make sure that goes through. Trav, I'm digging the background, man. That looks nice.
Thanks. So you got the same one going this morning.
Yep, that's right. You must have a good mentor in Nell, because she's the one that hooked me up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. All right, so 9:04, we will formally start our GMM for March. So again, good morning and welcome. My name is James Bachheim with Alternative Mechanical and also the ASAM president for this year. So again, welcome. We have a really cool, diverse group today and a lot of names from our membership organizations that we probably wouldn't typically have at our GMMs. So welcome to everybody. If this is your first time joining us for a GMM, we're absolutely happy to have you and really excited for this morning discussion with Reagan Marketing on marketing and that social media platform. So our normal structure of how GMMs work is we'll do some brief and they become more and more brief with our Zoom meetings, general announcements for membership. And then really we'll jump right into our keynote speaker, Mr. Daryl Smith from Reagan Marketing today, so that we can get in the meat of the presentation. So with general membership announcements or general announcements for membership, a couple of just normal ones, if you will. Again, we are always looking for membership companies to join. So if you do have those friends and or business associates or just a membership company or future membership company that you'd like to get involved, please let myself know or Nell with Reagan Marketing. Brian Strict oversees our membership side, so we can definitely make sure that the information is provided. We do have a really cool opportunity also as we get into April's GMM. We will have individual with ASA National, which is pretty exciting. And we are going to go through all of the not only membership benefits, but also the ASA website. And so if you haven't been on that platform, it's a great platform, but there is a ton of information. And so we're going to review how to navigate through that information and really capitalize on a lot of those perks. So again, April GMM is April 14th. So please look out for some of those emails coming down the line here in the near future, and we'll make sure that we get everyone signed up for that. The upcoming events as far as our next executive board meeting is next Wednesday. That's March 17th, right on St. Patrick's Day. So again, if you are interested in attending one of our executive board meetings, please let me know either via text, give me a phone call, or shoot me an email, and we'll make sure that you get the meeting invite for that. We just kind of opened up some limited face-to-face board interaction. So that's pretty exciting and moving, I think, in the right direction for when we look at what vaccines are with COVID-19 and hopefully getting us more collectively into an active room together as safely as possible. So again, please let me know next Wednesday, the 17th, executive board meeting. The next GMM outside of April 14th, will be May 12th. I know we have an individual from GVSU that's going to give an economic update, which timing wise should be pretty great with a lot of the things happening not only in our markets in West Michigan, but nationally. So again, that's May 12th, following up for the next GMM after April. So without further ado, we'd like to jump in directly into our presentation, because really that's what we want to spend the bulk of our time in today on both marketing, social media. Again, just a couple reminders on housekeeping. If you can for us, is just make sure that microphone is muted. Usually that's in your lower left-hand part of your screen. And again, that just helps with some noise. Also, we'd like to capitalize on the chat feature within Zoom for any questions. So if kind of towards the mid part of your screen there, you'll see the icon for chat. That will actually open up the window where we can get the Q&A right in that message board. So again, hit that Q&A into that chat feature. Both myself and other administrators will make sure those questions are getting to Mr. Darrell today. So again, welcome. And without further ado, I'd like to bring in Mr. Darrell Smith with Reagan Marketing. We had a fun opportunity to chat just beforehand. And if you don't mind, Darrell, I'm just going to throw us out there. So
yeah.
although you and I have had an opportunity to work together, I think your formal title is social media guru, and maybe not so formal, but
yes,
definitely the marketing and social media guru within Reagan Marketing. In fact, we were chatting about is 3 children under the age of 3. So if that isn't enough to keep you busy and in touch with social media, I'm not sure exactly what is. So
that's true. That is true.
We're pumped to have you today. And if you don't mind, I know you have a PowerPoint. We'll jump right into that. So thank you again, Darrell, for being with us this morning, and the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to share this screen. I did bring a PowerPoint. Makes it a little nerdy, but I can stop at any point. If anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat, and I'll have Nell tap me, or anybody can kind of tap me and get me going on some of the questions. So please do feel free to stop me at any point. But I do, it's a really interesting kind of path, the way that I found social media, right? I was in college at the time when social media was really developing past just a network of people communicating with each other. I was in college. It was, I think, freshman year. I was working at the Greenwell, a restaurant here in town, and our GM at the time said, "Hey, you're studying this in school. You should just take over this this Facebook page that they just launched. They just had launched them." And that's kind of the reason why I got into social media. It was kind of an accident. I knew I was going to be in marketing, but at the same time, the evolution of social media was happening right underneath me. We had already been using it in school, high school, and earlier. We had been kind of on that ride all the way up. They opened up an ad network, and really businesses slowly started taking this serious. It's a credibility thing. It's a communication tool. It's all of these things. It really evolved in front of us. So I kind of rode that wave. And then outside of that, you know, there was other things that came with that. My role evolved from just the social media manager into digital strategy, web management, all of the things that it takes to execute a social media channel. I do some photography and video. And then, of course, you know, this right here, this is my pride and joy. This is my family. I have twins right at the beginning of lockdown. So March 31st coming up on their first birthday, which is very exciting for us. And then I have a almost 3-year-old. His birthday is April as well, and that's my wife with me. So yeah, I've been at Reagan for 3 years, and I just want to kind of cover some of what I do and some of the situations that I encounter when I engage with a client on social media. Usually it's where they're at in social media, because most businesses are somewhere on the spectrum of not starting, had started, have no idea if it's working, and don't know how to measure if it is or not. So I'm just going to kind of run through some of those examples and see where you fit, and then kind of we can get into some of the questions that you might have from that perspective. But I really like to look at social media at a high level before jumping in too nitty gritty to say launch a campaign for a client that accomplishes this goal. So some of the clients that I'm currently working with on social media, you can see here, I'm not going to run through all of them and my role in all of them, but it's a really wide range. And that is unique to social media because all of these businesses all play on the same platform and in the same network, but what they use it for, what they expect out of it, and who they're talking to is all different. But it's really interesting because they all have a pretty level playing field. Sure, some have bigger ad budgets, and sure, some have a wider range of photography or media development and all of those things. But at the end of the day, their Facebook posts cannot be really any different than your Facebook post. The way they use the tool, the insights they get out of the tool, unless they're, pulling data out of Cambridge Analytica, they don't have anything more than you do. So it's really about the strategy and how you use it, what you expect out of it, what you put into it. So what we end up doing is making these kind of diverse, really different plans for each of these people, each of these clients, and they all want something different out of it, and they're talking to different people. So let's get into some of these situations. I believe I have 4 in this presentation, and this is usually the biggest one. The situation is we're not on social media, or we're not consistently using it, and we don't know where to start. That's a pretty heavy question for most business owners or community managers as a whole as well, because there's a credibility, there's a responsibility, and there's an expectation that your business is on social media. So you end up getting into that situation of we're there, we don't know if it's working, or we don't know where to start. So let's back that out. This idea, usually where I start with a client that I'm talking to or anybody when I'm giving advice on social media, is to really step back when you start to say, hey, where do we start? Is step back and just talk about the overall business goals and objectives that you might have, which is kind of a really interesting piece. Don't lead with social media and create things for social media. What you really need to do is try to execute your overall business goals and objectives on social media. So I have these 3 main questions here. They are, why are you joining? Who are you talking to? And what can you feasibly commit to? Those 3 main questions usually start the conversation of the strategy document or social media strategy as a whole. So let's get into breaking out some of these questions a little bit deeper, and then get into our next situation. So why are you joining social media? I assume it's not because you have a bunch of free time that you're just trying to fill, or you really love being on Facebook and, hey, how can I spend more time there and do that for the business? Usually this question is going to kind of answer some of the content types that you might need and the level of professionality required for those content pieces. And what I mean by that is, are you joining social media to drive more business? Are you looking to expand outside of your network? Are you looking to, use it as a hiring tool? There's all sorts of different reasons to join social media. Some businesses say, hey, our sales team is crushing the sales. We don't really need to develop those relationships on social media. What we need to do is show our community involvement, and we need to show our staff, and we need to use it as that tool. If that's the objective, you have a really different required level of professionality than, say, somebody who says, I need to develop business, so I need to show these projects in this way, and I really need to impress potential people in, say, Chicago or Cleveland, because that's where our business is moving. If you don't have those requirements, you're talking about two different strategies completely. How are you going to measure the success of your efforts? Seriously, it's not all about those likes and the followers. I've had clients who have been able to snag one decent client out of social media, and they're good for the year. They don't really need to develop any more clients out of there, so they can shift their strategy. And they measure success not on these likes of this and that. It's about building a community now, or it's about building something different. So each client, each network needs to be considering, or each business needs to be considering, how you're really going to measure success, because it can't be about a number ticker and a frequency. Then let's just be honest, like, what is the amount of time and resources you dedicate to social media? And I mean time and resources. They go kind of hand in hand, which is really kind of interesting. The time you spend, or the money you invest and either hire out or invest in advertising, all of those things, what is realistic for you? Because you need to have that perspective of, are we asking for too much without really investing a whole lot in here? Or are we okay with the amount of time that we're going to put into this channel for what we expect to get back out of it? So be realistic there. Who are you talking to? This is another question that I like to ask from a high level. This is important for audience and shaping some of that content as well. Yeah, hopefully you're not just talking to yourself here, but further than that, this question starts to lead you into, what platform should we be on? You don't need to be on all platforms. It's okay to secure URLs and secure these profiles for brand equity, if you will. But it doesn't mean you have to participate in all of them fully like you would each other. What's the voice of each platform? If you know that other people are on LinkedIn, then Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, let's say, some of those, the voice needs to be different on each of those. Are we going to only post really high level brand stuff on Instagram, or are we going to try and drive traffic from Facebook by posting links there? How do we speak on those channels? And then, I mean, when we start to talk about the people, what do they want to hear from us and what do they need to hear from us? So those are kind of both sides. So like, if the audience that you expect is on your social platform is really looking for, you know, your community involvement, or they expect to see your projects, that's great. You can post those things. But if you have outside business objectives that say, we really need to break out of Grand Rapids, or we really need to show this line item that we're entering a new service, or we're going to be announcing these things, or we're really kind of overhauling our brands and the structure of our company, they don't know they need that, but we need to express that on social media. And it's a really good way to continue to hammer a message down and say, here's where we're changing. This is the direction we are going. And what can we really commit to? Let's be honest here. This image on the right, you see this a lot with some brands that, like, hey, we don't have the time to continue to create this content. So you end up, you know, hitting the holidays, and that's okay if that's where you're gonna be. But be honest, like, don't post just holiday content and then expect to be delivering business out of these channels. Are you able to really spend time creating this content on a regular basis? What areas of your business should you be talking about, excuse me? And what types of media support each area of your business, excuse me? Let's be honest, we see this all the time, and it's okay, but lower your expectations if this is the amount of commitment that you're going to be able to give to this channel. So I'm going to stop right there halfway through and say that doesn't necessarily guide you to starting a social media campaign for your business or tackling social media as a whole. And I understand that. So that's very kind of high level of the gut check that I would say we give businesses. And when we start to jump into a platform, oftentimes I am stepping into a business that I don't understand the industry fully, or I don't understand the complexities of that business and industry fully. So we really do have to break it down into what's the point. So now we get into like, all right, that's fine, but let's talk about actually what does that look like and how do we take some of those things tangibly and move into an actual plan development. So if I could give you just a couple of high level, this is where I would start after we have that conversation or after you have that conversation internally with your team. These are some of the things that I would start to look at. This is kind of fun, funny, if you will. I've been in social media for a very long time, so I have a unique relationship with each of these platforms. These are all of the icons. I will say you don't need to commit to all of these. It's okay to just say, I'm only on LinkedIn for a minute until we can really dial that in. I think everybody knows the core, say 4 social channels, but some of these are really kind of interesting and fun and developing, if you will. So if I could just give you a really high level snapshot of each of these, I'm going to, because I have the floor. Pinterest. This is recipes, crafts, DIY, or inspiration. You can spend time there learning, setting up a living room. You can spend time there checking out recipes and crafts. You could probably make it work for some of your businesses, but you should probably stay away from it for a lot of businesses. It's a really interesting network. Everything's tied back to websites, so you post links on there and drive people over to websites through these inspiration boards. YouTube, entertainment or education, which is a really unique dichotomy for a social platform. There's that YouTube PhD is kind of what they call it, plus advertising. This is connected to Google, one of the strongest digital advertising networks there is. So YouTube is important. And most of the Google accounts end up having a YouTube account tied to it. And you end up seeing these embeds on your website. Be careful with YouTube embeds for videos on your website. Sometimes it shows your preferences. So if you're accidentally logged in and you're playing videos, you might see those at the tail end as suggested videos. So you might want to break out that YouTube account and make sure that it's not your personal account. So keep an eye on that one. Twitter. This is like texting for business or people, or during live events or during live things. You can really engage with people instantly. You see a lot more hashtags over here, and that was to break out that live event communication. But seriously, texting as your business. That's where I say when somebody says, I want to join Twitter, say, would anybody text you? And what would you guys text about from a business perspective? Facebook, I mean, this is the core, like this is kind of the leader of the pack, I would say. And it's really what it is targeting based on personal info. So the users all dump their whole life into Facebook. Naturally, you want to connect with grandma, you want to stay connected with friends, connect with people from your past, meet new people. All of that is sold essentially through the ad network and targeting. So it's a really good opportunity for an advertiser. It's not as malicious as it sounds. You don't export the data back and forth, but it is a really powerful advertising tool. And I would say it can accomplish the most in the ad network for the widest range of businesses. Maybe not yours. You might find yourself on LinkedIn more. But for the most part, it covers the most wide range of businesses and industry. LinkedIn, B2B, it's networking, finding a job, all of those things. It's a really solid business tool, if you will. It's tied to a person. It's almost like your profile is now your resume, and you can share content and go through that way. Instagram, this has the strongest organic community building. This is the strongest organic community building tool. You see people with 1 million followers and getting 100,000 likes on a comment or a post, or excuse me, a post. You start to see people really take this organic content seriously on Instagram. And we don't know necessarily, it's kind of a chicken or the egg. Is it because they didn't have an ad network, necessarily a strong ad network, until later on? Or is it because of they really focused in on organic community building? But if you want to play and avoid the algorithm crush from Facebook, you might start looking at Instagram more seriously. It is visual, so you need somebody with that kind of hands-on experience, but it's a good opportunity for somebody. Reddit, I mean, you might not find yourself there, but it's a web forum tied to topics and things, with some social interaction. Really cool platform. You can learn a lot from Reddit. Venmo, this is like your bank just started a social network. Nobody really knows why there is a news feed on all of my transactions, and all of the people I send money to, receive money from, all of the things I buy on. They send out credit cards now and debit cards. You can have a Venmo card, but it's a really interesting kind of thing. I mean, you can do some damage with a donation campaign, if you want to raise money for somebody, or raise money for your own business and brand. Really simple to be able to receive and send money, but a lot of it's public. It's kind of weird. Snapchat, it's like texting, but a little different, where you send messages back and forth. You start to see a lot of high school plus. So if you're looking to get the attention of high school students that may be interested in the trades, or maybe looking for something different, start to consider Snapchat ads, or Snapchat organic. You have a younger employee. This could be a really cool tool to build around one of your key players in the organization, and start to drive actual applications through that. TikTok and Clubhouse, these are new. TikTok, I personally think TikTok is my favorite right now. It has the most creators, and the widest range of creators. It's a really unique social platform. It had some turmoil, I think, last year, but I think it made it through. Has a lot of support from big tech in the US. But that one is evolving quick. I think most trends start here, and people are phasing out of Facebook. Everybody kind of talks about that. It's still the most valuable, in my opinion. But TikTok has that younger generation, so they're phasing into this middle school plus, and it is more than just these dancing videos that go viral. There's a lot of really cool ones. I follow the last living craftsman on there, and he just runs through all of these really cool craftsmen, woodworking tips, and all of these really cool DIY tips. Really interesting dude, but he's on TikTok. Very kind of cool content out there. And then Clubhouse, that's the newest one. It's like a master class meets chat room. Right now it's invite only in the US. We'll see where this one goes. It's really unique. They're the only icon with like an actual picture that I know of, or that I've seen, and definitely in the social media platform space, they're the only one with that. But it is really new. It's very infant. They have some support, and they have some really decent influencers on there from like a celebrity perspective, and money is spent there. So this does fit quarantine, lockdown, all of that. This new way of digitally connecting, right? So we're doing that kind of right now, but this would be the opportunity. If I held this on Clubhouse, anybody would be able to join this. So it's a really unique platform to keep your eyes on, because there could be a way to apply it to some of your businesses. We don't know what that looks like moving forward, but keep it in mind. Don't discount it yet just because it's new. So two, I like to run through this kind of strategy document. I usually end up building one of these for my clients. I suggest you do something similar to this as well. Talk about what are the topics of posts that we want to see on our social media, right? So if I could just run through one of these with you, one of high importance would be highlighting past projects we've worked on, media types and post types. For this, because it's such a high level of importance and the content we want to do professional photo and video here. We don't want to get by with, say, iPhone photos and authentic, hey, we were just here, this is a story. What we want is to really, capture in on some of these professional photos and videos. So we need to schedule that, coordinate that, plan on that, say 2 weeks in advance to get somebody through, or when a project is completed, get those photos and videos taken and hold on to those, because we're going to circle back around on this. The audience. Who are we talking to? Past clients? Yeah, they're going to be interested because they're going to see this new project that we did. But those in similar in a similar industry are going to see that project and say, "Oh, that's cool!" Or something like, "Oh, that's something I want as well," or they are qualified for what we're going to be engaging with them on. A key objective here. What's the point of making these highlighting past project posts, right? We're going to build on that core bulk of business we have. That's our bread and butter. We really want to build on that. We need to foster that and make sure that it's given the attention it deserves. And these projects are sweet. Like, people are going to like them. So we need to really focus on them and make sure they show up often. And measurement. How are we going to make sure this actually works? For this, we're doing that work. We just need to get it out there. So consistency. So when somebody does visit our, say, Facebook page or Instagram page, they're going to be able to roll through the feed and see 6 of these projects, all covered differently than they would be on our website. One project might have a quote from somebody who was on it. One project might have a video inside of something, and one project might be, one highlight might be something like, who's the new tenant. That's something I've suggested as well, of a build that you did, or who's occupying it currently. That's going to be measured differently than business development goal, trying to find clients outside of Grand Rapids. And we're going to be using an analytics report or a geography report for that. The measurement is going to be different. So we're going to have to report on that differently and look to see success a little bit differently there. So how do we manage that, and how do we build that content and plan for that? So we have that guide of what we're doing, right? At this point, we know where we're talking, some of the platforms we're going to be using. We know some of the high level strategy that we really want to hit on. But what does that look like? So where we end up seeing or managing some of this stuff and planning it is we end up doing like a month planned. And the first swipe that we end up doing is just dedicating a day or a week, however you want to do it, to those key business topics or objectives on the top, right? So we end up dedicating, say, the 2nd of this month, we need to talk about the staff. It's important to us. And then the 5th, we're going to follow up again. And community, this is how we kind of backtrack. Are we really following our strategy? Or are we just going to Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat and then saying like, oh, what can I post right now? And how do I just keep this ball up? What you want to do is step back and try to control that chaos a little bit. And you can start to plan this out a year in advance. You don't have to fill out the topic, the post type, the copy, but you start to give yourself a little bit more guidance. And you're really going to help yourself out by doing this, because now you're not just going to, what can I fill the space with, or what's next? Because you really can kill yourself with that open-ended blank post. Now you're going out there looking for something specific. I got to highlight a staff, or you see something cool from a staff member, you take the picture, you save it, because you know on the 5th you have a post that you need to fill there. So it really gives you that kind of high bird's eye view of what you're looking for when you start to say post creation. And then plan, build, report out. Like, you got to let people know what you're doing. You have to communicate this to other people inside of the organization, inside of the business, that, hey, we are doing this. These are some of the post types that we're doing. And this is what's actually happening. Here's some of the results. So you need to start to think about reporting out, not just doing as well. And it helps you track, helps you understand it a little bit better. So one tool that I use, this is an example of one of these dashboards. It's called Data Studio. It's through Google. You can connect it. It's a free platform to report out, and you create these data feeds, bring them in. It's pretty intuitive. They have a lot of templates. This is a templated YouTube report. They have other ones as well where you can connect things, and then you can also do manual screenshots and write your own text inside there to grab some of those analytics that are more, let's say, emotive or less numbers based, right? But that's a really good way to report out. And this link that I have here, I'm going to share it with everybody. But it's through Social Media Examiner, and this guy runs through how to actually create a Data Studio dashboard. So it's really kind of interesting. Situation 2, I'm looking to hire social media. I heard what you just said. I'm not going to do that. It's not something I have in me. It's not something we have currently. I want to hire somebody in. I want them to be a part of this organization, or I want to promote somebody. I have somebody in mind internally, or it's time to pass this off to somebody. I know it's important. We've shelved it. It's time to get somebody in here, or we have an intern coming in this summer. So what does that look like? What skills should we look for? If I was you, these are, I would honestly, I'm gonna give you some of this content when we're done. But I would look for these skills on the left here. I've written a few job descriptions, and I've done hiring campaigns for people trying to hire somebody that does my job, or they want to bring that internal or find somebody within the company. These are usually on the left here, the suggested skills that I have. I add in web support when needed. You might have a web vendor, but sometimes these people, they want to create a post. It's good for them to be able to get into the website and build the link destination. Copywriting, some of those things are really strong skills to have. Web analytics and reporting, you're going to want them to report back to you. And I will say, just a tip, when you start to talk about social media managers or social media as a whole, they're going to fall into 2 categories for the most part. There's a division, a major division. Community management, that's organic, that's content building, that's all of those things, replying to posts and really getting that brand personality out there. And then there's social digital advertisers, people who drive campaigns, people who use the social media platforms as a way to target ads at people. It's a really interesting division, and sometimes your business might require both of these people, or you could find them in one person as well. But there is usually a big divide when you start to talk about what social media person you're hiring. So be cautious of that and be aware that there is a major divide in a social media manager that you may or may not be aware of. So I'm not gonna run through all of these, but I do have some suggested topics to discuss during an interview. If you found somebody and you're talking to them and you're saying like, hey, I want you to be my social media person, and you don't necessarily have the depth to check their work, or you don't know because you just know that they say, hey, I'm a social media manager. You don't know how to necessarily measure that. These tips right here, or these kind of topics that you might be able to hit with them in an interview, or in that initial process could save you some of the, I hired somebody, I don't know if they're doing the job, I don't know if they were actually qualified, they sounded like they were, but I'm not exactly sure. I don't even know where to start and look. Some of these questions, again, I'm going to give you some of this content when we leave, but some of these you could just kind of copy paste and just run through this with them. You can ask your potential hire to send you a previous report or campaign and then have them talk to you about it. That's a really good idea if you're going to interview somebody and say, hey, I want to talk to you about being our social media manager for this business, or can you come prepared with some of the work you've done previously, and take a look at that post level data versus the page level. Somebody who's executing a page that has 1,200 likes or a page that has 120,000 likes, the 1,200 person might be doing a better job than the 120,000 person. It can't be measured by the page level stats. You really have to dig deep and have them talk to you about this stuff. Ask them for some ideas for your business. Don't expect them to come in with a plan, but hey, do you have any initial thoughts? A lot of those people are going to ask you for overall business objectives. That's a good sign. And I mean, a tip that I always have here is like clearly define these expectations of what you want from them in the job description. I see it all the time. People saying, I want you to manage our social media, and that's as much information as they give. So then these social media managers have just a wide range of flexibility of doing whatever they want. And you don't necessarily have any way to kind of say, oh, well, this is what I was kind of expecting. So things I would say is like high-level business strategy document or high-level business strategy for us. What does that look like? I want a monthly report. You can create it what it looks like, but I want to have that conversation. I want it sent, and I want to know like what did you do, and then explain it to me, the value and some of those things. Channel growth is always good. I mean, every day there's a new social media platform that people are talking about or that posts are going viral on, and you might be out of the loop because, hey, you're only tasking them with Facebook or Instagram. Do I need to expand other places? And give them some guidelines on, I want management on, these core platforms, but flexibility to say, hey, something new came up. Instead of just saying, I want you to be our social media manager. You gotta give them a little bit too, a little direction there. So here's another interesting situation that comes up is that, and I've kind of alluded to this, but we're on social media, have no idea if this is working or not. You should ask yourself these key questions right here on the left. Do we clearly have a reason to be on social media? And do we know what that reason is? Say, is our content brand presence in line with our business objectives? Are we allocating enough resources? Does the algorithm, is it just killing our posts and that's what we're looking for, these likes? Should we hire some outside content development? Are we kind of falling short there? Are expectations realistic? All of these questions are things that I would start with, like, why are we thinking it's not working? Do we even have our objectives clearly defined? You do have to understand Facebook has changed since the beginning. So if you see a decline, I mean, 6% of your total likes see your post on average. And then a pages with fewer than 10,000 fans, they have a post engagement rate of 0.52%. And that actually goes down when you get to 100,000 or 10,000 to 100,000. That drops in half, which is really crazy to think, but that's how it works. So be realistic and know these kinds of things, and start with why do we feel it's not working? Then you gotta go out there and find those answers. I mean, bringing outside team members into the conversation, schedule that planning session. Sometimes you end up having somebody on the sales team say, social media isn't doing anything for me. Like our social media isn't working. The core marketing team or the core team might be thinking it is. How do we bring that sales team member in to be a part of that conversation, and try to make it work for everybody? And our final situation is we are on social media and we know it's not working. We're not doing it, or we just know that this is not servicing us well, and we're not happy. We're not happy with the content that's going out. We're not happy for all of these reasons. So why are you failing, and where do we go? It might not be that bad. I would start with 3 core things, right? So A, do you have a community manager that's dedicated to this? Ask for them to report to you on the trend statistics, and what those mean. And when I say beyond trend statistics, I mean, don't say, hey, our fan growth is this, our page likes are these. Like, ask for the tangible, okay, cool, what topics did you cover though? And how did that help the business? And who were you talking to, in your opinion? Talk about these overall business objectives and get them back in line, and be straightforward with the planning, the approval process, strategy and advertising. Get them back in the loop if you need to. Sometimes it's just rogue. You're just rogue. You have a community manager managing what they want to do. Pull them back in. And if you don't have a community manager, are you ready to hire somebody or outsource that work? Is your objective big enough that you need somebody to take it more serious than you have been, or your team is capable of doing? There's complex ad campaigns out there that are happening all the time on social media that either look like something very, very innocent ad, all the way to something very direct. Are you doing that? And is that your expectation and you're not? And ask around the company, hey, is anybody interested? What do you want to see on there? Have you asked too much? I mean, sometimes that happens too, where everything, you're getting influenced by a salesperson, you're getting influenced by the CEO or whatever it ends up being. And you need to just step back and reset. So I would check your pace too. When I say reset, check your pace. There's times where you start to burn out because you're trying to create 4 social posts a week. There's a really interesting dichotomy of ad creation, post creation, versus giving your post and your content the time it needs to be seen, or the ad budget to be seen. So if there's somebody who posts 6 times a day and they're spending all this time creating this content and it's just getting eaten up by this algorithm, couldn't you just say, I'm going to post 1 time a week, spend that time doing that, and then spend the rest of the time having this ad campaign get that post back into the news feed, and that would serve me better. I would have more time to do other things, more time to focus on quality content, and then I'm not missing out on any of these impressions. It's one of those questions we have for people when they say, hey, I need to be posting every day. I need this really deep library of content. Do you even have that? Are you even able to do that? Or are you just going to be talking to talk? Sometimes it's best to check your pace and just be realistic with what's available. And then so here's my final slide before we get into some of these questions. If all of that was too high level for you, and the content was, we already have this down, we already know this. Here are a few links that I highly recommend you jump to. If my speech so far bored you, this is more advanced user stuff. I like to at least leave you with something that is more tangible here. Drop shippers' approach to Facebook advertising. This is a really unique thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a drop shipper is. They have these stores in China, online stores. All they do is Facebook advertise for a profit on goods that are being fulfilled by a whole network of distribution out of the country. But what they do is build Facebook and complex ad campaigns. This YouTube link is an hour long. This kid is 18 years old, and he's very advanced when it comes to social advertising. He actually had me recheck the way that I build campaigns and ad sets and structure different things. So if you are looking to see some real world education on how to build a complex Facebook ad campaign, this guy is really smart. iOS 14 and your Facebook ads, your pixel, you have to update that on your website right now. Everyone who has a pixel installed on their website right now through Facebook, you should check this or ask your web developer that the Facebook pixel is compliant with iOS 14. This is going to be a major shift. It's being advertised and notified across the board. Any ad platform is talking about this, not just Facebook. iOS 14 and how it updates your pixels and affects your pixels. Increase your Facebook ad relevancy score. This is a really good guide to do that. Comprehensive guide to Clubhouse. So you're interested, you don't know where to start. This walks you through everything. This guy is really smart too. Social Media Examiner, again, really good YouTube link to educate yourself on that platform. And then more Facebook algorithm talk. Everybody talks about the algorithm. Nobody really knows what it does. There's a lot of people who are educated on it, and there's enough information out there, but a lot more people talk about the Facebook algorithm that don't really know about it. It's just this mystic thing that controls the feeds and everything that you see. But this guide actually breaks that down a little bit more for you. Is really interesting walkthrough on the algorithm. So you can take these links. I'm going to package all of this up for everybody, so you can kind of take it with you, if you will, towards the end. So I'm going to allow some questions. I'm going to encourage some questions, and I might have missed some questions along the way because I am sharing my screen. So also, if you guys want, you can send them direct to me. I'm up at all hours of the night with 3 kids under 3. So send me your questions if you think of them later, or if you guys just want to kind of talk. You know, I need adult talk sometimes too, getting caught up with these kids. So thank you very much for the time. I hope it was useful, and let's jump into some discussion, if you will. All right.
Hey, Daryl, this is Nell.
Yeah, no,
I know
hey.
people were, texting me on the side and stuff. And one question people were asking was, what's up with hashtags? Explain hashtags.
Yeah. So hashtags started in the very beginning of social media, and they served the purpose of expanding on conversation, and connecting your posts from a post level or a business perspective, connecting you with or having other people see your post because they're interested in these topics. And then also having you be able to discover different topics because now you see a hashtag and you want to expand on it. Yes and no. So in a conversation, you should see a hashtag as an immediate kind of thing happening right now, not necessarily a categorical thing. For instance, you might be watching The Bachelor or watching a football game, and a hashtag would be useful in that situation because you could join the conversation and tie your post to a line of conversation happening right now. You might not see any value in a post that is hashtagged marketing. And the reason why I say that, you might see some value doing that for me, but you might not see value in that because the Facebook and ad platform, so Facebook is going to block a lot of that on privacy settings, but Instagram and Twitter and some of those other networks, they do a better job of introducing you to content and discover than you will do finding it through hashtags. So if you go through Instagram, you're going to end up seeing more of an influence on your past time spent on posts, things you've liked, and this perception that the platform has of you versus scrolling through hashtags and doing that work yourself. There is definitely a nugget, but I'd say it's kind of phasing out. It's more of a legacy thing. than anything else. TikTok's famous for FYP or For You page. Does that really get you in the For You page? Nobody really knows. But people do it still. So it's kind of like a legacy thing. I wouldn't put all your weight on loading up a post and say, we need to have 15 hashtags in here to get this thing seen. I don't think it really works that way.
Hey, Daryl.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking, what is the difference between IG Reels and TikTok? Different advantages?
IG Reels is TikTok 1 month later. And in foreign countries. It's really strange, but all of the trends that happen on TikTok start on TikTok, and then a month later they end up on Instagram Reels. Instagram is great, and it's a really interesting way that it kind of came up, because Instagram Reels was their solution to blocking audio out of everything on all of the videos up there for Instagram and Facebook. So Facebook and Instagram are notoriously bad for having bots scan through the audio. They just have a system in place. When you upload, they scan through the audio, find copyrighted material, and then they flag it, delete it, and remove it. Same with the video, the audio, the visual side. TikTok came out and said, we're doing this ad platform, or this social media platform that hinges on audio. All of these trends can start on an audio track. Instagram quickly said, okay, we're going to figure that model out, and they launched Instagram Reels. And it's a little bit behind TikTok, but you may have a Instagram profile and a fan base, so you want to participate on that. IGTV, that's just basically anything that's over 60 seconds. A video that they say is 60 seconds or more, you have to put it on IGTV. There's a little bit of a newsfeed difference there when you start to scroll through those. But really the differentiator there is how long is your video and where does it need to go for that one.
Okay, so I know I'm looking at the clock and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I'm going to throw out one more question. I think Daryl does have a few more minutes. If people want to stay on and continue questions for a few minutes, we're fine with that. So Daryl, here's your last question for now. Somebody is saying they use, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Zoho?
Yeah.
Because it's low cost. But it can be a little clunky. Do you have a better option? And along with that, what is your favorite social media management tool?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. So Zoho, I actually have a client in Zoho. We use the CRM. So that's a very interesting use for Zoho to just do social media out of it. It is clunky. Doesn't it feel a little bit old, right? Like a really kind of strange system. You might be using Zoho because your CRM is there, which there is a value to that, to keep everything all in one place. That's not a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, suggestions, I think Hootsuite is okay for scheduling posts. I think you do miss a lot of the organic or the conversations that happen. If you're looking for something strictly to schedule out posts, for the most part, it does a good job. They've had a very tumultuous relationship with Instagram, where they weren't able to really do images well. And then they had a lot of restrictions, and then Instagram was just completely removed for a little while. Then they didn't have the stories platform really built out. I do suggest looking at Sprout Social. I think Sprout Social is pretty solid. And then I also think inside of Facebook right now, you're starting to see Instagram scheduling pop up. So I would actually kind of kick that back and say, and we can discuss this further if you took down my email. There certainly is a a scheduling tool for each platform, one that works a little bit better than others. But your core will be Sprout Social and Hootsuite that do the best job of covering all of them. And then you can start to look at Later. It's called Later for Instagram or Pinterest. Those are two solid ones. But yeah, Zoho, that is clunky. I completely agree. And then we had another question from Alexis. Can you talk about strategies to get the same or similar content across platforms without being redundant? Yeah, sometimes it's best to think about the media that's going to go with it. So if you were to say, I want to cover a project we did, and I have this blog article, you'll have some photos with the blog article. You'll have the written content, right? The words and everything that go with it. Post that link over to Facebook, grab a little blurb out of it. You're going over to Instagram now, don't post the link, you really can't. Post one of the images that show up inside of this blog or inside of this content piece and say something completely different to it. Ask somebody that was on that project for a quote, if you will. So think about your content piece as like, here is the project, or here is the thing that we're going to be talking about. For Facebook, we're going to do it this way. And talk about it this way and share that media as a full link. Go check out more information. As Instagram, we're going to grab one image out of that link, and we're just going to highlight one piece of it. Usually that's the best way to not be redundant and have this, because yeah, I mean, how many times have you followed a friend who uses Instagram to post all of their stuff to Facebook, and then you like the Instagram post, and then 10 minutes later you see it on Facebook and you're like, oh, I didn't like this. Oh, I liked it on Instagram. Do I like it again now, or do I skip over it? But I don't want them to think I just didn't care for the image, or that's their kids, you know, like, I give it another like. So now you're like back and forth. There is a redundancy. As a business, you can also just say, hey, that's not making it over Instagram. That's just not going to happen. So we're going to do something else over there. That's a thing. So don't hesitate to say, I made that decision to not post that over to Instagram. It doesn't fit. And I did see in some of the chat, yeah, you're welcome. I saw inside the chat, people asking for the slides. I'm going to make these slides available. I think you should have them. Some of the stuff is pretty direct, like here are questions asked during an interview. Here are some of these other things. I think you guys all, thanks for sitting through this. I think you all deserve the slides. If you guys want to pull that information, some of the links you guys weren't able to visit, I just want to give it to you. So you can have that. It'll have my email if you guys want to discuss further. I'd love to. It's always good to have other people executing social, just like for, hey, did you hear about this? What are you guys doing for it? Because it is constantly changing. You have zero control over the platform. You'll log into the ads manager, you'll log into the platform, you'll log into your page, and you will have no more. So, or it'll change, excuse me. It'll completely change. So it's good to have that.
Okay, so we thank everyone for jumping on.
Yeah.
I added Daryl's email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me if you lose it, if you need to talk to him. We're happy to facilitate that. All this information is going to go up on the ASAM website by the end of the week. So again, we thank you. And I just want to repeat what James said earlier. We're so happy to see all of you that don't normally join us. So thank you. And please feel free to, watch our calendar and join us again in the future.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me and letting me just run through. It was a good practice to run through, hey, what do you even do? Where would we start? So I appreciate the time, everybody, and feel free to reach out. We'll make this available to you as soon as we can. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, bye.